Hey, I'm Isaac. Welcome to Hearthside Woodworks. Today I'll be building a wooden bowl to hold mushy bananas, expired coupons, and dog hair. So about 3 years ago, I built this bowl tray thing out of some scrap cedar that I had laying around the shop. I was having a family barbecue and I needed something to put bread or rolls or something like that. Well, I had so many people over that I completely burned through all of my dishes. So I ran down here to the shop and busted this thing out. Since then, I've been using this as a fruit bowl. It's also very good at holding old rubber bands, bread clips, bendy ties, and even junk mail that you get. Oh, that looks very interesting. I think I'll hang on to this and look at it later. You never look at it later. It's starting to fall apart because I just totally banged this thing out and it was like an hour. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's starting to separate right there. Something nasty on this. You can see there. Now, I'm not going to go into all the nerdy science about it, but butt joints are weaker than like a miter joint. So an end grain to an end grain is stronger than an end grain to a face grain. There are reasons for that. Maybe I'll make another video of that in the future, but for now, just it's science. I'm in the position to make myself another one because I get a lot of use out of it. So to improve the overall look of the piece, because quite honestly, butt joints on the sides, they're okay. They have kind of a rustic look. But the new one, I actually want to be a little bit nicer, something I can use on my dining room table, something I can put up in my kitchen that I'm going to be working on. So to improve the overall look and strength of the new bowl, I'm going to do what's called a compound miter. So I chose a piece of black walnut. Black walnut is one of my favorites, and this one in particular has some really cool grain running through it. So I'm going to use this piece, and I did a sample of the finish on this side. It's already dusty, but you can see it's really nice. Got some cool streaks, red and brown streaks, and I think it's going to look pretty cool. I've already flattened this prior, but I'm still going to joint the edge and then run it through the table saw to bring my width down a little bit. It's time for glue up. And something I like to use is Titebond 3. Now, this is rated waterproof interior, exterior, which of course I don't need exterior or waterproof glue for something like this, but anytime I use any kind of a dark wood, specifically walnut, I use Titebond 3 because when it dries a very dark brown. I'm going to let this sit and let the glue dry overnight. Have you ever had one of those nights where you go to bed physically exhausted after a productive day and you close your eyes and you get really comfortable and then your brain turns into a dog chasing a squirrel? I'm exhausted. But today's a new day. Okay. Well, I ended up taking the tape off before I pushed record. But let's be honest, you probably don't need nor want to sit and watch me peel tape. So, everything looks really good. The tape worked really well. My seams are nice and tight. Now, there is going to be some sanding, of course. Here's a little bit of glue squeeze out, but that's all going to sand and scrape off really nicely. I'm not even concerned about it. Next up, we've got to build the bottom. All right, so for the bottom, you know, really, if you were building this yourself, you could really do any different kind you want. In fact, I built one of these where I used a rosewood bottom, and it actually looked really nice. I was very pleased with it. However, in this case, I'm going to stick with doing a black walnut bottom, and it just so happens that I have a piece that should fit perfectly. All I've got to do is cut these angles. And no, I did not make this prior. I literally just found this laying over here in the big stack of wood that I have. And it's actually a really nice piece of wood. And yes, I realize for any of you who just cringed because I have a cup of coffee over the top of my cast iron table saw, this is not leaving my sight until it's gone. So just cope. It's okay. Although I promise I will not be setting it on my table saw. So this really isn't going to be a very difficult part of the puzzle. In fact, this is the easiest part of the puzzle. The blade is still where it was at when I did all of these cuts because it's the same angle. So all I need to do is find out which side I like best. And because I'm me, I have to make myself a note. All right, so the new bottom is made. It fits in nicely. It gives me a fingernail grab of depth. That's going to help with keeping this from having any kind of a wobble that it might otherwise have. That's a little trick too. A gap between your edges and the bottom, then any kind of wood warpage doesn't get amplified. It gives you just a little bit of a buffer and a little bit of breathing room too during the assembly. I've got to glue this piece in, let that dry, I'm on to the finishing stage. I think that'll do. So I'm going to leave this for a bit, and then I'll come back with a razor blade. Clean it up. Here we go, moment of truth. Now this is just a little bit of mineral oil and like a carnauba wax, I believe. So it's all food safe. So let's see what this thing looks like. So here we are, side by side, the original one and the new one. So you can see that one, that joint versus that joint. Voila. So this was a fun little project. I really enjoyed working on it. It does surprise me every time I make something like this, just how much time it takes to build. I mean, you'd think something small like this, that it would be a pretty quick process. Well, when you build it like this, you threw the crack. When you build something like this, yeah, it goes pretty quickly. Like I said at the beginning, you know, I built this one roughly an hour, you know, give or take. The trick to that, you might be thinking how that was possible. Well, I used CA glue to do all the joinery, and I just used a standard fully waxed shellac for the top coat. And this has lasted 3 years. So if you're wondering, can you use CA glue and shellac, some of the fastest drying products in woodworking, for something like this? Yes, you can. That being said, I am super happy with this. In fact, I plan on building multiple different sizes of these, from trays that are only this tall but real wide to ones that are square and much taller. I could put candles in it if I wanted to. I won't put candles in it, but there just seems to be a lot of possibilities with different sizes of this same kind of design. So my question to you is, what would you use something like this for? Leave it in the comments for me. So this has been another successful project wrapped up. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.